Hello and welcome to Anti-Doping Updates, episode 10. In this episode, we got 3 great stories to talk about. One is a gold medal winning weightlifter who is accused of urine substitution. Second, we have a wheelchair tennis player who had problems with the therapeutic use exemption. And third, we have a trio of UFC fighters, all of which claimed tainted supplements, 2 of which got a warning and 1 who got a 1-year suspension. Okay, let's get started. The first story to talk about is Najit Rahimov. Najit Rahimov is a weightlifter who originally competed for Azerbaijan. In 2010, he was the Youth Olympics gold medal winning weightlifter while he competed for Azerbaijan. In 2013, he was suspended for 2 years for testing positive for anabolic steroids. In 2016, after his 2-year ban, he came back and he won the gold medal in the 77 kilo weightlifting class and setting a world record in the clean and jerk in the process. This was a big upset. The Chinese weightlifter Liu Xiaojun was favored to win, but Najit Rahimov made a big jump on this last clean and jerk attempt, got the gold medal, and set a world record that broke a 15-year-old long-standing world record in the process. The IWF, the International Weightlifting Federation, has come under a lot of criticism from the International Olympic Committee for failure to take action on positive tests. As a consequence of this, and under pressure from the IOC, the International Weightlifting Federation turned over its anti-doping program to the ITA, which is the International Testing Agency, an independent body. So the ITA is now investigating all these cases where the IWF had failed to act on it. In this case, the ITA has issued a provisional suspension on Rahimov because of the allegation of urine substitution. So what is urine substitution and how is that proven? Urine substitution is when, if there's a test, usually going to be an unannounced test, instead of the athlete who's supposed to be tested providing their urine sample, they have someone else pretending to be them and providing their urine sample. This is detected by comparing 2 different urine samples from different periods of time, and the laboratories are sophisticated enough to do DNA testing, and you can tell if, based on the DNA, if the urine from one sample is from the same person as the other sample. In Rahimov's case, that was the problem. The 2 urine samples from different times are from 2 different people. Therefore, there's got to be some urine substitution in it. So, as I mentioned, this is a provisional suspension. The ITA hasn't issued their final decision on it, so we'll be waiting to see what happens. Depending upon the outcome, Rahimov could lose his gold medal. He could lose his world record, and because this is a second violation, it could be the sanction for a second violation can be double the amount of the otherwise applicable sanction, and the applicable sanction for a intentional violation like urine substitution is 4 years. So this could be an 8-year ban, pretty much a career-ending violation for Rahimov, who was the gold medal winner from 2016 in Rio. Okay, the next story to talk about is Adeline Bourveau. Adeline Bourveau is a 41-year-old wheelchair tennis player from France. In her very first tennis tournament that was under the authority of the International Tennis Federation, the French Riviera Open, she was selected for testing, and her urine sample tested positive for acetaminophen, which is used under the trade name Diamox. It is prescribed to treat glaucoma, epilepsy, and altitude sickness. But under the World Anti-Doping Code, it's classified as a diuretic and masking agent because it can be used to hide other samples. So on her doping control form, she listed Diamond instead of Diamox as one of the medications she was taking, but she didn't have a therapeutic use exemption. As a individual who's not in the registered testing pool, she could apply for a retroactive therapeutic use exemption. And that's what the International Tennis Federation told her in their notice of charge, is that if she applied for a therapeutic use exemption, that could make it retroactive, and that would clear her. So that was in November of 2019. That's when the ITF issued their notice of charge. However, Ms. Breveau never applied for the TUE. She started the application process and then never completed it. So months later, the ITF referred to the case to Sport Resolutions, which is an independent agency based in the UK, which does their dispute resolution process. And they held a preliminary hearing in January of 2020. And in that preliminary hearing, Ms. Breveau again claimed she didn't deny the testing positive for Diamox. She claimed that that was a prescribed prescription for her. And she was again urged in the preliminary hearing that she just needed to apply for the retroactive therapeutic use exemption, and that would clear her case. So 11 months later, in November of 2020, she still hasn't applied for the therapeutic use exemption. The Sport Resolutions scheduled a hearing. They held the hearing. She appeared for the hearing and again said the positive test was a result of the Diamox, and she was told again that you just need to apply for a therapeutic use exemption. They held the record open, and still, a couple months later, still no application for the therapeutic use exemption. And so, Sport Resolutions issued their decision in January of 2021, just this month, that since she tested positive for a banned substance, and because she has never applied for a therapeutic use exemption, she's suspended for 2 years from ITF events. So that's just a warning that you need to, in these anti-doping, there's lots of athlete protections, but it's upon the athlete to make the application for the therapeutic use exemption. The adjudicating body is not going to do that for you. So Ms. Breveau didn't do that, and so she's suspended for 2 years. The next story to talk about is with UFC fighters. Andrea Ewell, Vinicius Morelia Castro, and Eduarda Neves Santana. They're all UFC fighters, and the UFC is not a signatory to the World Anti-Doping Association. UFC has its own anti-doping program. They all tested positive in out-of-competition tests. Ewell tested positive for Ostarine, which is a SARM. Castro tested positive for anastrozole, and Santana tested positive for LGD 4033, also known as ligandrol. Ostarine and anastrozole and LGD 4033 are all prohibited substances under both the World Anti-Doping Code and the UFC anti-doping program. Ostarine and LGD 4033 are SARMs, and anastrozole is a hormone and metabolic modulator. All of them claimed that the positive test was a result of a tainted supplement. Now, the UFC in their anti-doping program has a couple of unique provisions, very different from the World Anti-Doping Code. First, they have a list of approved supplements. And the supplements that each of these fighters took, in this case, are not on the approved list. Second, they have a provision where if the athlete submits the sample for testing and the supplement tests positive for the banned substance, then the fighter can get a public warning instead of a sanction. So that's what happened with Ewell and Castro. They had their supplements sent to a WADA certified lab for testing, and they tested positive for the banned substances in concentrations that was consistent with their positive test. Santana, however, didn't provide didn't get her supplement tested, and therefore the UFC, or actually the USADA, which is the United States Anti-Doping Association, they administer the UFC anti-doping program. They concluded that with the results of her test, they couldn't rule out a tainted supplement, and so it's possible that it was a tainted supplement, although Santana hadn't proven it. So they issued a 1-year suspension for her. So that's it for the cases today. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with that, and I hope you have a great day.